Bat and the End of Everything. Chapter 7. An Idea. By Wednesday, Bat had given a lot of thought to the baby cake situation, as he had taken to calling it. Of course, he would love to be Baby Cake's caretaker over the summer. Who wouldn't? But Bat was already Thor's caretaker, and he didn't think it would be fair to either of the animals for him to accept the position. What if Baby Cakes made Thor nervous? Mom started to worry that he might spray or something, and then she decided that they should release Thor early. Bat pictured Thor scampering away, his fluffy black and white tail disappearing into the bushes at the regional park, which Mom had already decided would make a good forever home for Thor. What if that was the last thing Bat ever saw of Thor, that white stripe near the rear end of him, leaving Bat forever? It was too much to imagine, thinking about it, in the back seat of the car on the way to school. Made the whole world seem too loud, too bright, too much to bear. Bat reached into his backpack and pulled out the earmuffs he sometimes liked to wear when things were feeling too intense. They helped with the road sounds on the outside of Bat, but not with the swirling of riot feelings on the inside of Bat. Thor was in his carrier on the seat right next to him, and Bat rubbed his fingers against the mesh. Thor scuffled over and pressed his cool dark nose against Bat's fingers. There, that helped. Bat felt himself calming down. Bat saw Mom glance up in her rearview mirror to check on him. He didn't feel like looking at her eyes. He looked at his lap instead. "Are you okay, Bat?" Mom asked. Bat rocked a little. "I'm going to tell Mr. Grayson that Jenny should be Baby Cakes' caretaker this summer," he said at last. "Oh," Mom said. "She's the best choice," Bat said loudly now. "I can't be his caretaker because I'm already Thor's caretaker, and Israel can't be his caretaker because he's leaving for the first part of the summer to go to visit his cousin, and Jenny visits Baby Cakes the third most, after me and Israel, so she's the best choice." "I see," Mom said. They had arrived at the school, but Mom didn't seem in a hurry for Bat to get out of the car. She pulled into a parking space, put the car in park, and turned the engine off. Then she turned around so that she was in park. So she was facing Bat. "I was thinking," Mom said, "about what a great caretaker you have been for Thor. The best caretaker a skunk could have." "I love him," Bat said. His fingers rubbed against the carrier zipper. "I know," Mom said, "and I'm thinking. You have been such a great caretaker that it might be a good idea, after we release him in a month or so, to find you a pet of your own at the animal shelter. Maybe a cat or a dog?" "I've got to go," Bat said, and he pulled his fingers away from the carrier so quickly that Thor, who had been half asleep with his forehead pushed up against Bat's fingers, was startled awake. Bat unclicked his seatbelt and pushed open the car door. "See you later," he said, and he didn't wait to hear his mom's response. He closed the door and headed for the school, the weight of his backpack feeling like 1,000,000 pounds. Mom honked 2 short, friendly honks, like she always did, but Bat didn't look back. He didn't even wave goodbye. Chapter 8. To Jenny from Bat. "I think Jenny should take Baby Cakes home for the summer," Bat told Mr. Grayson, who was standing near the door of the classroom. "That's not a bad idea," Mr. Grayson said, "if you're sure you don't want to do it." "It's not that I don't want to do it," Bat said. "It's that I can't." "Okay," Mr. Grayson said. "It's settled, then. I'll see if Jenny is interested in the job." Satisfied, if not exactly happy, Bat went to his desk and sat down. He watched as the other students came into the classroom. When Jenny arrived, her brown hair puffing out from her head, her face smiling, like it almost always seemed to do, Bat watched as Mr. Grayson pulled her aside and asked her a question. "Do I?" Jenny said loudly, already her face smiling even more widely. "Of course I do." "So just check with your parents and let me know tomorrow, then for sure," Mr. Grayson said. "Oh, they'll say yes," Jenny said, sounding certain. "They always say yes to animals." They sounded like good parents to Bat. Baby Cakes would be happy at Jenny's house for the summer. Bat settled more comfortably in his seat as Mr. Grayson started talking about math. He got out his pencil and his math book and got ready to do some work. But then a terrible thought occurred to Bat. If Jenny's family always said yes to animals, how many animals might they already be living at her house? Bat had an awful feeling that maybe he'd made a huge mistake. His hand shot up in the air. "Yes, Bat," Mr. Grayson said. "Do you have a question?" "Yes," said Bat. He turned to face Jenny, who sat 2 rows over from him. "How many animals do you have at your house, and what kind?" A few kids started to laugh. This wasn't funny, though, thought Bat. This was serious. "Actually, Bat, I meant, do you have a question for me?" Mr. Grayson said. "About math." "No," said Bat. "I have a question for Jenny. Actually, I have several." "I'm sorry, Bat," Mr. Grayson said. "You can ask Jenny your questions at recess. This is our last day of math work for the year, and I need to make sure we review a few more things." And then Mr. Grayson turned back to the board and started writing some equations. Bat couldn't wait until recess. No way. As quietly as he could, Bat tore out a sheet of paper from his notebook. "How many pets do you have?" he wrote. "What kinds?" He folded the paper in half, and then again, and then one more time to make a neat little rectangle. "To Jenny," he wrote on the note. He'd better put his name on it, though, Bat thought, so she'd know who the note was from. "From Bat," he added. Israel sat in the seat next to Bat, between him and Jenny. "Hey," Bat whispered, trying to get Israel's attention. Israel looked over. "Give this to Jenny," Bat whispered, his voice a little louder this time. Israel looked at the note, and then at Bat, and then at Mr. Grayson, whose back was still turned to the class. "You're not supposed to pass notes in class," he said to Bat. "I know that. That's why I'm whispering." Israel was a good friend. He shrugged and then took the note from Bat. He turned and tossed it to Jenny's desk. Just then, Mr. Grayson turned around. Bat saw Mr. Grayson see the note fly out of Israel's hand, arch across the aisle between the desks, and land in front of Jenny. Israel was a good friend, and he shouldn't get in trouble for helping. Mr. Grayson was walking up the aisle towards Jenny's desk. Bat said quickly, "Israel didn't send the note! I did! Israel shouldn't get in trouble!" Mr. Grayson stopped next to Jenny's desk. She still hadn't touched the note. It sat there, a little white triangle. Mr. Grayson flipped it over and read what Bat had written. "To Jenny from Bat." He smiled. "Bat, no one is in trouble. I can see it's very important to you to speak with Jenny." "Yes," Bat said, "it is." Mr. Grayson handed the note to Jenny. "I believe this is for you, but please put it away until recess." "Okay," Jenny said, and she stuck the note on the side pocket of her backpack. Mr. Grayson went back to the front of the classroom. He picked up the marker again, and he went back to talking about math. Bat felt all sorts of things mixed up together. He felt relieved that no one was in trouble. He felt worried over what kind of pets Jenny might have. He felt itchy and uncomfortable, knowing he had to wait for an hour and a half to get any answers to his questions. Bat hated waiting. Chapter 9. Under the Play Structure. If Bat had been a mayfly, maybe the wait for math time to recess would have seemed even longer. But Bat found that hard to believe. As it was, Bat stared at the hands from the classroom clock over the whiteboard at the front of the room, absolutely certain that it had to be broken. There was no way that seconds were supposed to last that long. Every bone in his body felt as if it were vibrating with tension. Every muscle ached with being squeezed so tight. Bat's fingers, wrapped around the edge of his seat, practically froze into claws. He gripped so tightly. A couple of times, Israel leaned over and said, "Dude, relax." But Bat couldn't relax. At last, it was time for recess. Bat stood up, headed straight for Jenny's desk, but she rushed out of the classroom by Luca and May before Bat could get to her. And then there was sort of a traffic jam at the classroom door. When Raymond and Henry were goofing around and Raymond accidentally knocked Henry's bag of trail mix open over to the floor. Everyone dropped down to their knees to help pick up the loose almonds and chocolate chips and raisins. And even Mr. Grayson, and even though Bat said "excuse me" very loud and forcefully, no one got out of his way. "Just a second, Bat," said Raymond, sounding kind of loud and irritated. But of course, it wasn't just a second. It was more like 60 seconds before they all stood up again, filtered out of the classroom, and Bat could at last get through. Outside, the playground was really hot and bright in a way that Bat didn't like. He felt the rays of the sun glaring down at him as if they were being directed through a magnifying glass. He put up a hand over his eyes and squinted as he scanned the yard, looking for Jenny. Finally, he saw her with May and Luca, sitting in the shade underneath the climbing structure. "What kinds of pets do you have?" asked Bat, getting down on his hands and knees to scoot over to the girls just beneath the jungle gym. "I've got 2 cats, May said brightly. "Not you," Bat said, waving a hand in May's direction. "Jenny." "I've got a golden retriever, a cat, 2 parakeets, and a tortoise," Jenny said. She was peeling an orange. "Is your dog gentle?" Bat asked. "Uh-huh," Jenny said. She made a neat little pile of orange peels and tore off a segment of the orange, popping it in her mouth. Bat felt a little better hearing Jenny's golden retriever was gentle. That probably meant baby cakes would be fine at her house. "We used to have 3 tortoises, 1 big one and 2 babies, but we had to give the babies away because my cat kept flipping them over onto their backs. She can't do that to the big tortoise, though, so we got to keep that one." "Tortoises can die if they're flipped on their backs," Bat said. "They can't flip themselves right side up again." "I know," said Jenny, eating the other slice of her orange and then offering one to Bat. "That's why we gave them away." Bat ignored the orange slice. "But your cat might try to hurt baby cakes, too. I don't think you're the best caretaker over the summer, unless you find a different home for your cat." "No offense, Bat," Jenny said, "but it isn't up to you. Mr. Grayson said I could take baby cakes home. Anyways, she'll be in a cage in my room. The cat even won't be anywhere near her." That wasn't good enough for Bat. Without another word, he scooted himself out from under the climbing structure and headed back towards the building. Mr. Grayson was just going to have to sort this out.